tell me about this when this started. Obviously, COVID's been going on for a year and a half. Paramedics everywhere, emergency services have to deal with this everywhere. But tell me what happened when it started, I guess, if you can.
So around like mid-April, she started getting sick, just kind of like a usual sickness, low energy, fever, and then she just progressively kept getting worse. She was, sick and all she could do was just lay in bed. She was just had no energy. And then eventually she became short of breath, so she decided to go to the hospital in COVID here.
Did you think it was COVID? Just by what you say, it doesn't sound like it necessarily until the breath comes in.
Yeah, so what's interesting is she actually went for a test and tested negative. So, it sounded like it, and as soon as she became short of breath, it kind of felt like that was it, like that was COVID.
Okay, so she went in, talk a little bit, and then she got, I guess, for the first one, was it negative test?
So when she went into she went for a swab, like when she was just kind of at home and not feeling well. Actually, she went in like a couple days before she wasn't feeling well, and when she was brought to the hospital, they tested her again, and then it was positive.
She was ambulance when you say that? She was brought to the hospital or no?
No.
Okay, so
my dad brought her in.
Okay, sorry. Tested negative. Was she admitted at that point?
Yeah. So she. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. When she tested negative, no, she just stayed home, and she was just resting. Like she just thought maybe it was a regular cold. But then as she started getting worse and her breathing was getting worse, she decided to go into the hospital, where they tested her blood there, and then it was positive for COVID.
And she was admitted at that point?
Yes.
Do you remember the date on that? And if you don't,
April 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from then, what happened then? It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah. So the next day, she was intubated, so she was put on a ventilator and sedated. We kind of just thought like, oh, this would just be like a couple of days, like she just needs a little bit more oxygen. They tried oxygen masks first, it wasn't enough. And so, day after day, like just kept going by, and she just still needed like the oxygen requirements from the ventilator, and they decided that she would need longer term care, so they transferred her to Peterborough Hospital.
You remember when?
May 1st, I believe. Yeah. Right, May 1st.
May 1st she went to TGH. April 29th, I believe.
Oh,
she was transferred to Peterborough April 29th.
April 29th.
Yeah, sorry. She went to TGH.
So April 29th she went to Peterborough?
April 29th she went to Peterborough.
And tell me about that.
So while in Peterborough, she was just getting worse. Her oxygen was, it was low, and she was quickly deteriorating there. So they thought it'd be best to transfer her to Toronto General Hospital.
What was, and again, forgive me because I don't know this, but is it all to do with the oxygen? Like, is that the main thing with what your mom is experiencing?
So yes, it's for the most part, yeah, the oxygen levels, and also what COVID does is it like attacks your lungs, so her lungs became very scarred, so it was hard for her like body to keep the oxygen in her blood as well. Okay.
And then a day or two after,
she was brought to Toronto General.
Because you know why? I guess why, or is it?
Yeah, they just couldn't get her oxygen levels up. So, and Toronto General just had more like equipment there, and
so she went, and now she's in Mount Sinai?
Now she's at Mount Sinai.
And again, why the switch, or do you know?
So it was a provincial directive from the COVID command table to transfer her to Mount Sinai, as she didn't need as specialized support at Toronto General. So just to make some room at Toronto General, they brought her over to Mount Sinai, where she will continue to have her own specialized support.
Is it your understanding that it's that busy up there?
To my understanding, it is, yeah.
Like just with COVID patients and that,
Yes.
it's just that busy, so they have to make room. And your mom on
Yeah.
critical but stable, is that the correct wording it would be? Say no if you want. Like, is that right?
Mostly like stable, but she still has days where she is a little
Yep.
all over the charts, I guess you could
So,
say.
so is she still unconscious?
Yeah, she's still sedated, yeah.
So is her oxygen getting better?
It's a very long and slow recovery process, so it's very, because of the scarring of her lungs, all they can do right now is just support her body and keeping it stable so that her body can heal itself.
So it's not necessarily now the COVID, it's what the COVID's done, if I understand that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's caused pneumonia, which then progressed to acute respiratory distress syndrome. And so that is what has kind of slowed down her recovery from all of this.
And the family, so, and forgive me, so this started April 15th?
April 25th.
April 25th to May 21st. So it's just been unbelievable past few weeks, obviously, for the family.
Yes.
For something that originally was thought of as a cold.
Yeah.
Did you ever thought your family'd be in this position?
No. I mean, you hear about these stories on the news, and you just, like, never believe it's actually gonna happen to a loved one. Or, like, someone who is so close to you. And when this all happened, it was just like, okay, like, you know, I'm sure she'll be out next week, and we'll start planning for next week to get her home. And, you know, the weeks just kept coming, and it just, sometimes it feels like there's no end in sight.
You haven't been able to see your mom because you're pregnant? That's
Yeah.
your choice. Is that your choice?
That's my choice.
Yeah. But the rest of the family is...
So she actually just got cleared for visitors as of like a few days ago. So my dad's been up to see her. There are some, you know, restrictions and protocols with visits. They can only have 2 visitors, like 2 people who's allowed to visit. And so my dad obviously being the one, and then I debated being the second one, but just because I'm pregnant and going to Toronto and going to the ICU in the hospital, it just kind of makes me a little bit nervous, which is really hard for me because I would love to go and see her and be with her and speak to her and
Let her know you're there.
let her know that I'm there and let her hear my voice. But we've been able to do some FaceTime calls, so I've kind of been able to, you know, talk to her. Even though she's not awake, at least she could hear my voice.
How's your dad doing? Everybody doing?
It's been extremely hard on our family. Extremely hard.
As I would think, especially her being a paramedic, she's used to I wouldn't say taking care of you guys, but I mean, my mom was a nurse, so it's like, you know, so as I say, it's, you know, they know, moms know best, and, you know, with your pregnancy, you could ask her things like that, but
Yeah.
right now, you guys are, and again, you're lost.
Definitely, yeah. She's our family's go-to person for everything, for like even like cooking questions or you know, like support if we're having a bad day. And so we're all so close with her, and it's been really hard on all of us, for sure.
Is she out of the woods yet?
She's not. No, she has a long battle still to come.
Can I ask you, some people, maybe I shouldn't say some even, there's a certain percentage of the population that think that COVID isn't that bad. Can you speak to that?
After seeing what COVID can do, I mean, some people, you hear that, you know, some people believe that if I get COVID, I'm just going to be like sick for a week and then I'll get back to my regular life, and I can, you know, handle that. But you don't really understand like all of the effects that COVID can actually have on your body and the damage that it can cause on your body afterwards, even when you are now negative from COVID. So, I mean, I think that especially with these new variants, it's very serious and it can happen to anyone. My mom took all of the necessary precautions. She followed all of the government directives. She has such a small inner circle, like she doesn't go anywhere, and it happened to her of all people, so it can happen to anyone.
At this point, and I have to ask this, you don't know where she got it.
No.
Yeah,
no,
like whether it was work or whatever, you just don't know.
we just don't know, and that's the scary thing too, right? You just can go anywhere and never know where you're going to contract and when.